Is it not, by the way? There's a huge depth of understanding and discipline that doesn't happen in our society. And I've noticed as one who does canvassing and campaigning, generally what you do when you campaign is you simply tell people the answer. You tell them to vote for something. You tell them to take some action. But how many times do we take the time to learn what an issue really is and make an educated decision about it on our own? And it's ironic in our technological arena when there is so much information available. We even have AI search engines that we can find out and answer questions for you. We don't bother. And I hope, well, I know people are going to go on May 6th to go vote, and that'll be the first time they read about what issue 2 is actually about. On this sheet of paper, I gave you the answer, but at this point, let's maybe not look at that too closely. There's a QR code. What I've done is this presentation is available for you to download and read on your own. It has hyperlinks embedded in it. And also this document is available as well. You can print it yourself. So my strategy here is I'm going to walk through what this thing is, talk about what some of the issues are with it, and then what actions you can take if you choose, if you personally believe it's an issue with it. But it's something we should all decide on our own. I don't want to be the one to tell you what you should do. I will simply give you information about it and you can make your own decision. So with that, let's just walk through this. Now when I started working on this presentation, the first thing, I went the wrong way. Okay, so essentially it's going to be on the ballot. If you go to the Montgomery County Board of Elections, you can actually go to this website and you can get a copy of the ballot to read what it is. Let's take 2 minutes to actually read about this. This is the first part of it. It says the proposed constitutional amendment to fund public infrastructure, capital improvements, permitting the issuance of general obligation bonds. Proposed by the joint resolution of General Assembly to enact Section 2T of Article 8 of the Constitution of the State of Ohio. First of all, can someone tell me what a bond is?
Bond?
What is a bond?
Oh, bond.
Let's start. I mean, there's a word in here. Do we all know what a bond is? So someone give me the definition of a bond.
IOU.
IOU.
Pretty much, yeah.
So how does a bond work? Does anyone invest in bonds? Are there any investors in the room?
Yeah, people put money into something called a bond,
Okay.
and then once that money's there, it can be spent for what it's designated for.
Richard, do you know what a bond is? I think you know what a bond is, don't you?
Well, my understanding is
It's like collateral.
it's like an investment that you're going to pay money and buy a bond. They're going to give you a certificate. Excuse me, I got my mouth full. That you're going to get a certificate saying that you gave the state, the country, or a company, because companies do have bonds, or a municipality,
It's
that
like collateral.
you gave them this money to use for this project, like you mentioned earlier, road building, stuff like that. And then, after 20, 30 years, you're supposed to be able to redeem your bond. And over the years, they're supposed to invest that money wisely to ensure in 30 years of when the bond matures that there's going to be money there to pay you back.
Oh, so it's an obligation.
It's supposed to be an obligation.
Oh,
Supposed
hey, you
to
know,
be.
I just realized something. What's it say on the screen under the bond?
It's a general obligation.
Oh, obligation. So you're saying that the state has to pay people back, right? That's what a bond is. So I want to make sure people understand what they're offering is they're going to be taking money from people, whoever are interested in it. They're going to take their money and they have an obligation to pay them back, and probably with interest. Now, how does, when you issue bonds, how do they usually get paid back? How do you fund the paying back of bonds generally?
That's a good question.
If you're a
Tax
company,
dollars.
how do you do it?
It's a tax dollar.
You make a profit, right? And off your profit, you pay the bonds back. Now, if there's an obligation, who's backing the obligation? Who do you think backs this obligation?
Taxpayers.
The state, right? Which means that it has to come out of the general fund. So wait a minute. Let me get this right. Please, we're going to basically issue bonds, and we're a not-for-profit infrastructure. Do you make money off infrastructure?
Can if they use it
So,
right
how are these bonds going to be paid back?
by raising taxes.
By what?
Raising taxes.
Oh, wait a minute, you're saying they're going to be paid out of the general fund, right? Am I hearing that these bonds are going to be paid for out of the general fund unless you make a profit? Well, maybe this might be a silly question, but why not just pay for it up front out of the general fund instead of stretching out 30 years? I have questions. I haven't read what it is yet. I have questions. Do you have questions about this? Why bonds?
Because they know they won't have to pay it back.
Oh, so basically they're not.
They're
but
stealing.
It says obligation bonds, right?
Yeah, but that
Where
doesn't
are they
mean
going to steal from?
they're not gonna live up to their word.
You mean they're gonna? Well, generally, isn't it true that usually municipal bonds or state bonds or federal bonds are considered pretty reliable? And why would anyone buy them if the state's going to rip them off later? Would you buy a bond from the state if you know they're not going to pay you back? And not pay you with interest? Would you do that? So these are obligations. Obligations. Poorly on the second slide. Let's move further down. What else can we learn about this? Let's see. Okay, so basically this is what you're going to read. It says authorize the state to issue bonds or other obligations. Wait, I thought it was a bond issue. What are these other obligations? Any idea what that might be? To finance or assist in financing public infrastructure capital improvements for local governments and other governmental entities. Capital improvement projects would be limited to roads, bridges, wastewater treatment systems, water supply systems, solid waste disposal facilities, stormwater and sanitary collection, storage, and treatment facilities. Did any of those make money? Oh wait, does it maybe the people that actually pay for these services have to pay the state back for these bonds? So let me get this right. We're going to collect all this cash at the state level, and we're going to divvy it out for these projects. I wonder how that works. Tristan, you did some research on this. So how do they decide where this money goes?
So they have a person that runs the board there.
You got a person,
Yeah,
right?
that's a lady. She gets, so after this is approved, or if it gets approved, she gets $12 million to choose where she wants to award the people to. So then I did more research and I said, you know what? If I was the governor of Ohio, could I make this bill into a Roman Forum in downtown Dayton? And that passed. So you could literally take the same bill and build anything that improves public life.
Oh, so you're going to request from her $12 million to build a Roman Forum in Dayton, right?
Yeah, and she could award that
And
to
she
me.
could just award it to you.
Yeah, she could just give it to me. And she can divvy it
Okay.
up.
Who's
She
going to
can-
build it?
One of their companies.
Oh, you mean, are you
Yeah.
saying that you think that
Or
they
the
have their own
cheapest
companies?
That's
Wait,
a pocket that
don't they
one.
have to bid this out to different contractors to get the best bid or something?
Yeah.
They do. Okay, so basically that means there's multiple different contractors that work on all these projects.
And when I was on the computer, did I actually saw all the companies that they give the money to.
Oh, how many are there?
I think there was what, 14, 19?
14. Oh, so basically a list of 14 companies can do all this work.
Yep.
But what about local contractors? Like, let's say there's a bridge that was built in Montgomery County.
They only did, so we had one bridge in the past years that this has been enacted since 2017, right, Scott? 2017. So this has been there since that long. So then the bridge, they only did one bridge.
In Montgomery County.
Yeah, and if anyone that lives in Montgomery County, we all do, right?
We should go check that bridge out.
So now, like, we all look at it and we're like, wow, so what is our money actually going to? And none of this money is like, so we even looked up the projects. They couldn't even tell you what projects, how much money it went
They
into.
just said how much it was.
Yeah, they just said how much it was. And this
They
is on
don't
the
know what they're
public.
working on.
Yeah, they have no idea what they're working on. This is a public.
You can't see the
PWA.
contracts for any of these things?
Nope, can't see the
So what is it, a
contracts.
slush fund or something?
There's no transparency.
What was the bridge that they did? The one bridge? We don't
No,
even know
they
what that
did
is.
all the bridges
Oh,
downtown.
it was-
There's only one bridge on, we'll get to that.
It was the one in
sorry.
Centerville.
So anyways,
No, they did
Because
more.
there's
They
one
did
in
all the
Henry
bridges
that did
downtown.
no,
It
this
might be
is
that
for
one,
this
too.
A
fund.
couple years ago.
Oh,
So,
yeah, but they
thank you,
did the
Tristan.
bridge.
Oh, yeah,
I'd
you're
like to
welcome.
know who paid for it.
We'll get to that. So we're just on point one. So basically, well, there's other obligations too, but wait, there's more obligations. I wonder what those are. Let's go further down. So 2, determine that such capital improvements are necessary to preserve the export and expand the public infrastructure. So I guess someone decides if it's not, she probably decides, right? The director decides that.
Create jobs.
Ensure public health, safety, and welfare, create and preserve jobs. Would that be the contractors that get to do the work on these things?
Yeah.
Maybe I guess the people at work have to have working toilets for them to keep their jobs. I guess what that connection is. Enhance employment opportunities and improve the economic welfare of the people of Ohio. Pretty lofty, very general
No.
things, right?
Scott, you mind if I say something?
Go ahead.
It's almost like the 16th Amendment. I don't know if you guys know anything about that. Like Congress has duty to collect taxes. They never state how much. And look at our whole tax system now.
Well, this did actually say how much it was.
Oh, they're saying how much, but it's been, yeah, see, they'll do 2.5 million now and then.
So generally, limit the total principal amounts of the state general obligations issued under the amendment to no more than 2.5 billion over a 10-year period. So basically saying that we can collect up to $2.5 billion in these bonds over a 10-year period. I wonder how long the bonds are for. We'll find that out. Any principal amount that could have been issued in any prior fiscal year but was not issued may be subsequently be issued. So that means they're selling. By the way, does anyone know what the word issued means? What does the word issued mean in regard to bonds? Another marketing question. What's it mean to issue something?
Given?
It means that you're going to sell bonds, which means they can sell these bonds as they need funding. Which means if they need some cash, they'll say, hey, Richard, would you buy some more bonds from us? Can you give me some cash?
And they've already got this past year, so they don't have to do anything else to get it through. They just make more bonds.
Yes, they can just make more bonds. They can continue.
Right.
So every year this committee gets a certain amount of cash. They get to fill the pipe up with money, and they have to spend it. So they're obligated to spend this money.
So in other words, too, they could put in a new Dragon Stadium anywhere they want. Is
No.
that accurate? No?
Well, that's actually
Yeah,
not a
you
sewer.
just gotta come up to the next point. It's limited to what
Oh.
they can,
That's
okay.
like they can't use it for the Brown
No, they're
Stadium.
getting it now.
Yeah,
That's
they can't use it for
another
a
way to
Brown
do
stadium. It
that.
has to be,
They just
Yeah.
got
I
that
mean,
400
moving
million.
on.
build a
Here's
park and then have shops there, but it would all be private investment.
So anyways, okay, so 4, require that obligations issued under this amendment mature no later than 30 years after their date of maturity. So these are 30-year bonds. It's basic, and by the way, it's up to them to decide. It says they get to decide what kind of bonds they want to issue, and it can be no more. So essentially, they can borrow, in this 10 years, across those 10 years, they can borrow $3.5 billion, and their obligations that could go out another 20 years. Beyond that, at least 20 years beyond that. That means that every 10 years you can increase your, okay, so basically if it's $2.5 billion and you divide that by a third, that's about what? About $1.7 billion, which means you have $1.7 billion of obligations that are extra every 10 years. Or better yet, it could still be $3.5 billion because you don't end up paying that off. So at the end of 10 years, you get another chunk and you still have the previous one because it could be a 30-year note. 5, authorize the General Assembly to pass laws implementing this amendment, including laws establishing procedures for incurring and issuing obligations, and laws providing for the use of Ohio products, materials, services, and labor to the extent possible. So they basically want to keep this in-house. They want to find suppliers in Ohio, maybe in Columbus, and they get to, so the legislative branch gets to decide how they want to do these bonds. So we put in the Constitution that we're going to collect this much money. The legislative branch gets to decide how they're going to collect the money, and it's going to go to this commission to distribute. So basically, who's on this commission? I wonder. We'll get to that. So you getting a gist for this? What's going on? Is this a little quicker? Is this a little better than just trying to figure out when you go and vote? This is just reading the ballot language, and then moving on to that. Now, proponent testimony. Now, you can actually you can actually look at this when, and you use this QR code to read this. You can go through and read the proponent testimony. So our House of Representatives gives their proponent testimony. Representative Troy, Representative Oldsgar. These are proponents. Rod Davidson, City of Obeds. I imagine they probably were able to get some funding from this or something. And we have Contractors Association. I guess the contractors like this because they get those jobs to do this work. And Associated General Contractors, Chamber of Commerce. That means people getting funds. So basically, it seems like all these people are people that get some of this money. Now, of course, they would be excited about it because they get a piece of this. And apparently, they must be getting funding because they would be giving proponent testimony. Give me opposing testimony. Oh, I found one. Found one. This is on 2 slides, by the way. So basically, it allows the state to issue more general obligation bonds, increasing indebtedness to pay for public infrastructure, capital improvements. As a result, all Ohio taxpayers will be paying interest on these bonds to cover local government projects according to roads, bridges. So basically, we're going to sell bonds to people and pay them interest for them. We have to have all that infrastructure for issuing bonds, and then all has to be paid for by the taxpayers. Why not just pay for it out of the general fund? One thing to realize that this is about bonds, it's not about infrastructure. Remember, they try to make this about infrastructure. It's about bonds, selling obligations. Why not simply make it part of the general fund? And if you want to know, when you listen to this video a little later from Mark Makita, it's 0.2% of the entire budget. It's a small amount. Why do we need this? Why do we need this? That's my question. But here's the second part. The state government has gone back to voters numerous times for permission to issue more general obligation bonds. Most recently in 2014, issue 2 represents increase in the amount of borrowed money and spending on local infrastructure as compared to previous years, now totaling $2.5 billion. Why? Now, if you go to this website, it's the Ohio Public Works Commission. You can actually fill out an application for funds. There's nothing really wrong with having a state fund to help with infrastructure projects, but why fund it with bonds? Now, I did find out there is a fact sheet here you can read. Some of the things about this. What did the Public Works Commission do? We fund infrastructure projects in communities. Why public works projects important? We help your local government build necessary and critical infrastructure that you depend on every day, or paving roads. So the question really is do we need an organization like this, but we should fund them by bonds? Is my question. Why bonds? Montgomery County does have a project. There's this bridge that's listed because there's a chart where you can click on what was done. So Montgomery County apparently got a bridge out of this. Has anyone's actually gone over this bridge? This is Middle Street. It's on. Let's see, where's it located? It's on Alex Bell Road.
Centerville near, like, exit 4, isn't
It's
it?
West Carrollton.
Yes, it's West Carrollton. It's for
Yeah.
that roundabout. I would have been excited if they actually built the roundabout with these funds.
There is one at Mad River and,
Yes, that's a pretty fun one.
yeah, the roundabout.
So there is a project. They're doing projects. Now, this video was actually done by Mark Makita. It's 6 minutes.
I like him.
And it has a lot of content, so let's go listen to what Mark Makita has to say about this.
We campaigned for him.
Are you aware there's an Ohio bond issue on the primary ballot in May? It's for $2.5 billion with spending limits of $250 million annually. Supposedly, it's necessary for the health and well-being of Ohio's infrastructure. We'll bet most Ohioans haven't heard about it and know almost nothing about it. That's intentional. It's taxpayer abuse. A great strategy might be to vote no on it. Here's why. Our elected representatives who support it will tell you it's just a replacement for what's already in place but expiring. Like many things in Ohio politics, it has indications of rigging, manipulation, and possibly corruption. And the replacement argument is a poor excuse for running a shoddy operation. What business says, hey, let's sign a multi-billion-dollar contract renewal because our previous multi-billion-dollar contract is expiring? Not one, because that would be stupid. Is the product or service still needed? Should we be procuring it another way? Are we paying a fair price? Rarely are these questions asked, and even more rarely are these questions answered by our elected officials. Voting no on the ballot issue in May might be a great way to snap them out of their financial scrutiny slumber. They work for us. They have a fiduciary responsibility to us. Let's remind them. The first question is, why is a bond issue needed? Why not make these expenditures part of Ohio's biennial budget? The bonds are secured by taxes paid by Ohio taxpayers. Why bonds? Ohio's annual budget is about $85 billion. $250 million is 0.2% of Ohio's annual budget. That's right, 0.2%, not 2%, not 1%, not even 0.5%. It's 0.2%. So why a bond issue with all the expenses associated with it? Our next question is, why have lawmakers who quietly and rapidly passed legislation allowing for this issue to go on May's primary ballot, why have they been so quiet about this? Have you heard many, if any of them, talk about it? It flew through the legislative process from start to finish last November and December in just over a month as House Joint Resolution 8. It speeded through the lame duck session. Since Ohio's Constitution requires a balanced budget and does not authorize the state to go into debt, the issue, if approved by voters in May, changes Ohio's Constitution to allow for the state to borrow by issuing bonds. Once again, we're going to trample on Ohio's Constitution, adding more pages to what is already 139 pages, and includes insanity like, I kid you not, a list of tax parcel numbers for a casino district in Cuyahoga County to play games with taxpayer money. Matters like this should not be handled by constitutional amendment. That reeks of corruption and is perhaps a good reason to consider voting no on this issue in May. Finally, no discussion of this issue would be complete without asking the question, why now? The expiration of the last bond issue and associated spending has been known for about a decade, 10 years. Why wasn't this on the November 5th presidential general election ballot last year, when more people vote, when voter turnout is the highest? Why schedule it for the ballot of a primary election in a non-presidential and non-gubernatorial year when turnout is about the lowest it can possibly be? It's intentional. It's to improve the chances the issue passes, under the radar, so to speak. General elections bring out a broader and less predictable electorate, including more casual or independent voters who may be skeptical of tax increases. In contrast, primary elections tend to attract party loyalists and interest groups who may be more likely to support public funding measures. In general elections, levies might get lost in the noise of high-profile races, presidential races, governor races, or congressional elections. Voters overwhelmed with political ads and polarizing issues may vote no reflexively on tax measures. In a primary, the ballot is often shorter and less contentious, giving a levy a better chance. If you are tired of being treated poorly by your elected representatives, being manipulated in this manner, voting no on this issue in May might be just the thing to send them a loud and clear message that we're no longer accepting their ignoring us. It's time we forced them to listen. Think about it. This video is brought to you by the Grassroots Freedom Initiative, or GFI for short. If you're not already on our email and text lists, please be sure to join our network of thousands of Ohioans. It's easy, free, and we won't ask you for money. Visit gfiohio.com and click the Join Us button in the upper right-hand corner of any page, or text the letters GFI to 66866 and follow the prompts. And please be sure to find and follow us on YouTube and Rumble. Subscribe, hit the notification bell, and give us a like to be made aware when we post new content. Thanks for watching. Please remember to stay informed and get engaged.
This is the handout I gave you, and this is essentially based off of my research and some of the things that Mark had put up there on his website. And if you want to take a look at that, I have this on this PowerPoint. This is what issue 2 basically is. Constitutional amendment authorizing Ohio to issue general obligation bonds of $2.5 billion. The initiative should be a part of the should not be a part of the Ohio Constitution. And general obligation bonds liabilities are paid out of the general fund. So why not just pay for them out of the general fund up front?
And that's just the millions, right? 250 million per year.
Per year, yes.
That's all we, that's,
So one thing we need is that these are, the argument is not needed. Article 8, Section 2 already has infrastructure bond section. This is a new amendment, not a renewal, so not needed. Literally, it basically says that the legislative branch has the right to issue obligations. They can do it. Already says, I mean, it's about a paragraph that says that. So there's no reason for this to be a constitutional amendment. And so it's not needed. It's literally not needed. This whole point is quietly put on the ballot, quietly. So why vote for it? Why vote for it? Who manages these bonds? Who's accountable?
yeah, who's down?
We don't know. Why vote for it? Issue 2 is not about infrastructure, it's about bonds, which should be funded by the legislative and be part of the whole general fund. So I feel it's a manipulation. And why are you messing with the Ohio Constitution? You're locked in it for 10 years. Why not just do it in the legislative session? So what can we do about it? So basically, here's the takeaway. Issue 2 is a huge slush fund that is fraught with high potential for corruption. Just vote no on it. But what can we do about it? So this is something that Mark Makita had on his website. I just put the screenshots on it. It says, turnout to May 6 crimes expected to be very small. 5% of registered Ohio voters. That's about 400,000 total votes. And it was only passed by a small margin. So we don't have to increase the turnout that much to defeat this item.
Well, you're gonna put advertisements on it, then, are these people putting something out on
Oh,
the news?
how are we gonna deal with this? Well, how many of us are precinct captains in this room? What do precinct captains do? What are they supposed to do?
Go around the precinct, ask the voters how they're doing, kind of get a feel, do some new legislation that's going to pass, and then, yeah, that's kind of it, right?
So we should, as precinct captains, reach out to our precincts.
Yeah.
How many-
Democrat or Republican.
How many of us are precinct captains? I'm a precinct captain. Now, I did a query. I'm Miami Township S. And I did a query and said, please give me how many individuals have voted in the 2024 primary and the 2023 primary. And for both of those, I got a list of 219 individuals here. So I have a good feeling that these 219 people are going to vote, because when I when I removed the 2013 people, it didn't change much. So there's a group of about 200 people that consistently vote out of my precinct every primary. So my plan is I'm going to put this in little bags that I have, folded in half, and off this walking list, I'm going to deliver to their house. This might be the only piece of literature they get about issue 2. Now, if you're a person that votes, and you get something like this in the mail and you don't put on your doorknob, are you going to read it? Probably are.
Yeah.
And I pretty much have told them what, so you get to be the one in front of them telling them what it is. So how do you find more people to vote? I think the Turning Point app, you can just simply go there and say, please give me the people near me. So how many people have that app on their phone?
I got it.
You on your phone?
Yep.
So, let's see, what each of us can do. Okay, this is what Mark wants. He wants us to make 10 social media posts on this issue over time. So we can all post this information. In fact, you can post this here because you can actually get this because I gave you the QR code too. You can post that on your own social medias. Now, if each of us just posted this, what penetration would that have if we were interested in making a change here? Send text to about issue 10 people. That's pretty easy. You could send this to 10 people because you can download the PDF and send it to them, or you can actually copy the text from it or make a custom message on it. Make calls about the issue to 10 or more different people. How many of us have cell phones? We can just go through our contacts and call 10 people to say, hey, I just want to let you know, especially if they know you, you could make those calls. Persuade key people not previously contacted to make absentee mail-in ballots. I've never actually done that, so I'm not certain I will do that. But I think if we all do something, we can make an impact. And try to contact 50 different people. Well, I think for me, I can just do this next week because I've got a list of 219 people, and I can just drop this off at their house. And then I can also use the Turning Point app to find their phone number and call them and say, by the way, I left this off at your house. Because I think the Turning Point app gives you phone numbers of people near you.
Gives you a lot of information.
Now I noticed there's one that you can actually. The app has two different modes. You can either do door knocking, which it basically gives you the person to go to and their name and things. I already have that here on my list. Or you could just simply talk to people near you. So I think it's pretty easy. If all of us want to reach 50 people, we could, because now I've given you the list of this information. Now, I want to curious, how hard is it for people to actually click on the link? Does anyone want to try to scan a QR code and see if they can get this document? Anyone like to try that? Put together. Hit the download button. And, okay. So then you click on the link there. And voila, it's up.
Really super simple.
And then you could probably, is there a share button on there?
I don't see a share button on it, but I'm sure we can share it. You go down like this, and download.
I had Turning Point's app because gay people.
But you know, it's on my documents, and
But I
I
had
know,
to
you know, you can share it to
You can
other
just do a
people.
screenshot, right?
Yeah, you can do a screenshot. And
You can just do a screenshot of this and say, hey, you really should. So you literally could just click this link, download it to your phone. If you hit it a couple times, it's going to say, I already downloaded it. You can link to, you bring it up on your phone. Everyone know how to do a screen capture on your phone? So now you have an image of it, and then you can just send it to people and say, hey, you really should take a look at issue 1. Here's a flyer about what you need to know. That's all you got to do. Seem pretty
You
doable?
already got it?
So my plan is I'm going to reach these people with hard copies, the little baggies. And I probably by good time I might start sending this thing. And you have to thank Mark Nikita.
Sorry.
So thank you for your time.
Great job. Thank you.
I love